Hello again, it's Todd Golden, Indiana State beat writer for the Tribune-Star, and we're here again doing another video. The first one was a little rough, and they'll continue to be rough. I'm not very camera comfortable, as you can see. But I appreciate everybody who watched the first one. Got a lot more hits than I would have thought. I had low expectations, but I appreciate everybody who watched it. We're going to keep doing it. I'm going to get better at it, hopefully. Certainly Indiana State's getting better, and what a game here at Holman Center today. Indiana State defeats Evansville 79-75 in overtime. And, a week ago Sunday, these stands behind me were not filled, but there were fans up there. Some of them were booing, some of them were heckling the Sycamores after a pretty demoralizing double overtime loss to Missouri, Kansas City. What a contrast today. The Sycamores exited the floor to a standing ovation from the fans, and they deserved it. Indiana State played very hard, very well. For the most part, executed well on both ends of the floor. And, Greg Lansing, I just got done with the press conference in the media room, and he said the light is starting to flicker on a little bit with some of the younger guys, and that was pretty evident today. But it was two older guys who really made a big difference, and it starts with Jake Kitchell. He had 21 points and 11 rebounds. I talked to Kitch yesterday, and he was really fired up to play against I can never say his name, Egidius Mokovicius, and I know I butchered it. Sorry to him, but he was fired up, and those types of matchups don't happen very often in the Valley. There's very few centers who bring a double-double into any contest. That's what he's averaging, and Kitch, was ready to rise to the occasion. Boy, did he ever. 21 points, 11 rebounds. Really played a big role. Moskowicz fouled out in overtime. His fifth foul came when Kitch got position on him in the lane, and he tried to push off, and ended up being a huge play, obviously. I mean, he's very vital to Evansville's fortunes. But when the game was on the line, when Evansville had a chance to put the game in their favor, they had Jalen Moore at the line, who's the backup center, and he struggles at the line. He missed all 4 of his free throws in overtime, and that really proved to be a big difference, obviously, for Evansville's fortunes. On the other side of things, Devontae Brown, his stat line, he had, looking at it here, he had 5 points, 5 rebounds, 4 assists, 4 turnovers. An improvement turnover-wise, certainly from Illinois State, which couldn't get any worse after a 9-turnover effort. But what Devontae did today that was key was he just ran with DJ Ballantyne. He was the primary person guarding him. And I don't know how many miles Devontae ran today. Ran through a ton of screens. It reminded me of watching the Pacers during the Reggie Miller era, how many screens they have Ballantyne run through. But Devontae stuck with him, and Ballantyne had only 15 points. It's below his season average by 7, and he needed 14 shots to do it. And Brown read Ballantyne late in overtime and stripped him on what Ballantyne he was trying to do, a crossover, and that proved to be the difference in the game. Brown fed Brenton Scott for a layup, and Evansville was playing catch up from that point onward. So a good game defensively from Devontae. Still needs to work on his offense, but certainly that's something to build on in a positive way for ISU's junior, who continues to be a very important player and needs to continue to be. Other contributions today, what a great game from Alex Etherington. The redshirt freshman was 5 for 5 from the field, had a career-high 13. He's getting more confident. I think early in the season Alex was hesitating a little bit with his shot. He actually had a hitch in his shot in some of his early season games, and for a young player it's so important to hit those shots, and when you start hitting shots, you start getting more confident in every aspect of your game, and I think that's certainly the case for Alex, who also had a big tip steal at the end of regulation. Indiana State didn't convert off of it, but it was a big play. And he's been more active in the lane as well. So that's 2 good games in a row for Alex, and that's a good sign for the Sycamores. Another good game for Trey Bennett as well. He had 15 points, 8 of 10 at the line, and things are starting to click with him too. He's still struggling a bit on the defensive end, but he's smooth on the offensive end. He's starting to find gaps. He's starting to find post players. Kitchell had 21 today, partly because Trey had 5 assists, and he and the other guards were doing a good job of finding the posts and the paint. And that's vital. I mean, Indiana State can't rely solely on perimeter play, can't rely solely on the guards driving the lane. They need contributions from guys like Jake Kitchell and Justin Gant, who only had 2 points, although his 2 were big. He had a a tip in late in the game. So, you know, it's a good sign that the players are starting to feed off of each other and create a little bit of balance in this offense, which it sorely needs. A few other things. You know, ISU is 2-0 obviously in the Valley. They get Missouri State at home on Wednesday, and you know, it's just something positive finally to build on. You know, the non-conference season was such a drag in so many ways. You know, Indiana State just never got any momentum going. When they had good stretches in games, they couldn't really follow up on it. And today, you know, there really wasn't a bad stretch for Indiana State. This might be the first game all year where they didn't have a between media timeout stretch, for example, or just like a 10-minute drought. They're pretty steady today, pretty consistent. The defense wasn't always there, but part of that is Evansville is a good offensive team, and just a very solid effort on the offensive end, and that's encouraging to see. The crowd wasn't bad today. I mean, considering the Colts are playing right now as I'm filming this, and was a conflict during the game, I've seen worse. Evansville brought a lot of fans. People at Evansville, I was talking to some of their people, are very excited about the Aces, and they should be. I mean, it's a good team, and that's what makes this such a good win for Indiana State. I mean, Evansville is going to be there contending, you know, for the Valley for the rest of the season, and you know, so for Indiana State to put together 2 wins against 2 pretty good Valley teams, many think are going to be upper half teams, speaks well for the future. So that's all I got. We're going to continue to do this. We'll do it again after the Missouri State game. And again, I appreciate everybody who's watching, and also reading Down in the Valley, which I restarted and kind of revamped and did some new things with.